So, hey everybody, Happy New Year. My name is Jared Malat. I'm here with my good friend Mateo Calise, and this is the Cultist, episode 46, the Luke Rhodes episode. Luke Rhodes is a 6-year long snapper for the Colts. Uh, by the way, man, is he in shape?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's he has some he could honestly,
he, they,
perhaps snap the
they
ball
they did
all
hit
over
they
the
did
course
him
of
a-
the field,
they did him a service on the Colts website. Um, but anyway, he went to William and Mary. He's from Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. So it's kind of an easy segue into we want to start our podcast episode off by sending prayers up to whatever God you choose for Damar Hamlin,
Or
the
Hamlin, yeah.
cornerback from the Buffalo Bills collapsed suddenly on the field last night. Had cardiac arrest, administered CPR in the field. His family issued a statement today saying that he's still alive. He's under a medical coma, as far as I know, and yeah. Football
Yeah, we are still
is a dangerous sport. Um, and we are in the middle of a bunch of negative news. Obviously, like Damar Hamlin getting hurt during a game is like not negative news. That's like a horrible, once in a billion, hopefully, uh, tragic things that happens that you hope doesn't. I mean, it's awful to watch
yeah.
someone get CPR. I don't know if any of you have ever been to it, but let me use that stupid shit I just said to segue into if you are not already CPR certified, that was like a really good reason to make sure you and everyone you know is CPR certified because that is what saved that man's life. And like I was looking it up because like my big thing was if we're going to talk about what happened to Damar Hamlin, I want as much information as I can so I can help as much as I can. Well, one of the things I was thinking about was, oh, I hope you didn't have blood loss to the brain because if you have had blood loss to the brain, then he's never going to play football again, right? Because he has lower brain function. But because he had cardiac arrest, which is an electricity thing in your heart that makes it not work, not a blood loss thing, I'm not saying that he won't have any complications, but it kind of takes brain damage off the table, which means, hey, there's a planet on which he returns to play, and that's like way far away and not very high on his priority list right now. I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's put
But
things in perspective here. Like, there's a possibility he could return to playing football as opposed to like he didn't make it, right? Which again could still be a possibility. That's the world we live in. But um, yeah, I think anytime they have to postpone a football game, it's worth starting your podcast off with it. And it's also it's an important reminder of how important these people are. Um, I remember when he got hurt thinking like, oh, that's the Pitt kid. Is a cornerback from Pitt, and the University of Pittsburgh is notorious for putting out great football players. The Colts, I believe, Colts had a running back that went to Pitt, I believe. Was it UConn? And I'm lost my mind. But uh, Kenny Pickett, for the record, the
yeah,
quarterback of the
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh
Steelers, yeah.
Steelers, went to Pitt. So that's a good college football program.
James Conner went to
James
Pitt.
Conner at the Pit. That's what I was thinking about. We don't have him. Um, but yeah, it's coming on the heels of, December 20th, Franco Harris dies. The end of December, JJ Watt tearfully tells everyone that he had a heart attack or his heart stopped or he had to be resuscitated. And that he's retiring at the end of the season and he's having like a great year too. So that's like extra heart wrenching. Then the Andrew Luck article comes out, and then gets another concussion, right? And then obviously with what happened last night, it's all a big reminder that, like, first of all, um, I'll also use this moment to speak on the reason that that game stopped was because of the NFLPA, and that is a union. Not
Yeah.
your corporate overlords did not withdraw all the money they were spending to advertise and say, pull the plug on this game. No, they certainly did not. If anything, their marketing dollar got more valuable, um, which is insane. But I'm glad because I went to bed. I was like, I've seen enough. I'm gonna see it
Yeah.
nonstop for
Yeah.
however long.
Today.
Um, but I was happy that when I woke up that I had seen him go down, and then I found out he's alive this morning, and that he had started a toy drive, and it was at like ten thousand
Yeah. Three
dollars
million.
for the
Yeah.
game or
Now
something.
it's.
And this morning it was over 3 million. And then I thought
Yeah.
about what that $3 million could buy in toys for little kids. That's what he was doing. Um, and that good thing that he has done, that his name will have created, is far more impactful on those individual kids than his play will ever be. Because if it had been the teams or the advertisers, they'd have kept playing the game. They just carted him off the field. Um, and that speaks to, one of the things that's crazy about watching like a professional athlete go down like that is that I think about all the friends that I have that play semi-pro football. Um, and I just think about, it's very hard to even think about like how important people are, and how in some instances one guy getting injured your whole season. Um, it doesn't even have to be like your quarterback. And I'm not saying like DeMar Hamlin's loss going to cost the Buffalo Bills the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, that'd probably give them gas. Uh, because Buffalo's already good. Um, but that was setting up to be a hell of a football game. I hope they just make it a no contest, and that
Yeah.
it's
Hopeful.
just
There's no
it's
reason the
just
game should play.
yeah. There's no need to make that up. They'll meet each other anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
I just wanted to
yeah, yeah.
give an update on the stat, like a good news. The fundraiser for his charity is now at 5.25 million, which is it's great. And I just want to give a shout. Bills fans are the best. Like I have no pride in having to admit that Bills fans are always classy. Like they
Oh yeah.
always like the thing they do. Like this season, like only talking about this season when they donated to the Tua Tagovailoa's charity when he
Hmm.
went down with an injury. That speaks volume to the type of people that are up there in Buffalo.
Oh
So
yeah.
nothing but good wishes and prayers again to prayers. Good energy, whatever
Yeah.
you believe in, just send it his way. Hopefully, on a perfect world, and if we start this new year on a good note, hopefully like he can make a full recovery. I don't know if he will want to play football or not. Like I don't
Right.
I don't care about that right now. Like that's
Right.
out of the question. First of all, hopefully he can recover, go back to his family.
Oh yeah.
That's the main thing at least I can think of on our reigns right now.
Yeah. I just want to, selfishly, I just want to see him back in a uniform, right? But like the reality is, I just like to see a smile on his face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's gonna be a long time till he does that. Um, but yeah, the the Colts lost this weekend, and finally in a fashion where I'm like, yeah, this was never a question. Um, the first quarter was close, right? It's a field goal game. And I thought, okay, Colts defense, keeping them in games as usual, putting all the pressure on the Colts offense to just move the ball consistently. Let's put this
which
thing in the end
yeah,
zone. And that did not happen.
yeah, they
The
can do. Yeah,
Giants scored 24 points in the second quarter, and ultimately 38 points in three quarters, and beat the Colts 38-10. Colts are now 4-11-1. And then I kind of want to look before I say something. So Tankathon, NFL. We used to have the fifth pick.
yeah, fifth pick right now.
Okay. That's what we're talking about, baby. Um, and yeah, I think the Colts are absolutely gonna take a quarterback. I have no doubt in my mind. And
Yeah,
it hinges on this information. And it's not work I did on my own. But Bernard Raymond's played well as of late. And him being like a super young left tackle to having good games. We're gonna be okay at left tackle as long as he stays healthy. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Whew,
been
whew, he's not a wasted pick.
nah, he's been
Um,
amazing. Other than,
so
the only play I watched that I thought like, okay, what is going on here is the sack on Nick Foles, the one where Kayvon Thibodeau gets a free rush, like right from the left side,
mhm.
ending in a sack. But I don't know if that's Raymond's fault or Ryan Kelly's fault or even Nick Foles' fault for messing up the protection. Other than that, I was checking the numbers, and it's one of those few times where the numbers back up the ideas. Bernard Raymond had 36 pass blocking reps and allowed no pressures. He's being among like I believe it's like a top 10 tackle in the NFL these past 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
So, and keep in mind, this is a guy that played just 2 years of football in his entire life, like just 2 years, and one of those was playing tight end. So this is a guy
He had
that,
one season at
yeah,
tackle
one season
before
at
the Colts
tackle.
drafted him, and
Yeah, this is a guy that should only get better with better coaching and more experience and practice. Like,
it's a
if
ton of
this is,
pressure.
yeah, if this is his floor, if this is the level of play we get from this guy who has just 2 years of experience playing, perhaps, arguably the second most difficult position to play in the NFL.
Yeah,
Like, who knows what, if he remains healthy, who knows what he will be able to do in 2 years, 4 years, six down the line. He could very easily be, the left tackle of the future.
there you go. And so that kind of tells me everything I needed to know. And of course the questions are coming. Hey man, now Sam Ellinger is supposed to start here to end the season. And what's going on? And all the also the questions are coming in like Jeff Saturday. The expectation that is that this was a tryout for a job. And and so if those are the questions that people are asking me in conversation, like people at work, people that I'm friends with on social media, or people like I went to school with, and they say, "Hey man, you write for the Colts. Like, what's going on with the Colts, man? No better place to address it than your podcast, right?" So first of all, I want to make sure I get this out of the way. Jeff Saturday was not brought in with any realistic expectation of winning. Now, and
Yeah, no way.
if you thought that was going to happen, the problem with that is that he couldn't have been making any coaching errors, and he's been making a ton of coaching errors. So if your logic is that the guy was part of the NFLPA and has negotiated in high stress situations, that's not nearly the same as having the sort of like
Yeah, to coach a football team. Yeah.
natural ability, like play call, get in the flow of being on the sideline during an offensive possession, or being up in the booth when they're trying to figure out what they want to call. So yeah, there's a lot of things that angles that weren't considered when you think about what's going on with Jeff Saturday. I think absolutely he is um, going to coach. I don't know that Jeff Saturday is much of a head coach, as
Uh,
evident by, and this is again the eye test, his lineman not sticking up for Nick Foles when Kayvon Thibodeau's doing snow angels next to
yeah,
his dead
right.
body.
Yeah.
So I call that they got the fight taken out of them. Um, and as evidenced by they give up like 6 yards of carry um on a ground. Obviously, New York Giants are gonna run the football with Barkley back there, but um and Daniel Jones is a good runner of the football. Um Daniel Jones again is another athletic quarterback who makes some plays with his feet. He's like Andrew Luck light, if you really want to get down to it.
Yeah,
He's
he's like the
yeah,
the
he's like
dollar store version
dollar store
of
Andrew
Andrew
Luck.
Luck.
Hmm. He doesn't score as many touchdowns. He's not as efficient with the football. but he makes plays with his feet, completes a high percentage of his passes.
Yeah,
He's
which
tough, but he's not as tough. He's never as good as your guy, but like, and
yeah, I mean it's kind of obvious here that he's not
but
in
he's
the
not.
same league as
No,
Andrew
he's like
Luck.
he ran at like a 2/10 slower 40. We're not talking about the same caliber of
Yeah, yeah,
athlete.
it's not the same,
Andrew
but
Andrew Luck. Think I thought about this the other day. Like, what's a good way to talk about? Okay, Andrew Luck physically could have also thrown at track. He could have been like a discus or shot putter. Nah, probably more of a discus thrower or javelin thrower. He had the build for that and like the strength and power for that. And you wouldn't even know normally say that about a quarterback, right? You might occasionally get a pitching prospect that you say, he's got actually the frame where he'd be a hell of a discus thrower, or javelin thrower. Um, you normally are more thinking about like I equate most quarterbacks are more like Josh Rosen than are like Andrew Luck. You know, there's way more Bryce Youngs than there are Big Bens. You know what I mean? Like I've been saying for a while, I think gone is the way of the traditional
yeah.
drop back passer. This is not me saying I want Bryce Young.
No, but
Yeah,
we saw it this season. We talked about this, like, and we have been talking about this even before the season started. That
yeah,
you need in today's day NFL, you need. I mean, you don't have to be don't you don't need to be like Lamar Jackson and have his
no,
breakaway speed, but you
that'd be
have to
great.
be able to. Yeah, that'd be great. Of course, that's a big plus. But you need to have at least some sort of mobility. We saw it this year. You know, Matt Ryan got killed. Tom Brady, he's been having a nice season, but not great. Kirk Cousins was exposed in the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I think he will be exposed once the playoffs begin. And when you look, at the top 10 quarterbacks, and the common denominator is that these are all guys that can make plays with their legs.
Yeah.
You look at your Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar, Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa, all these guys, are guys that can run, that they can move the ball with their legs. And you look at the guys that have struggled a lot in the quarterback position, and the common denominator in those guys is that they can't run.
Yep, you got to be able to beat the D end.
Yeah,
Um, and those players, we've been saying that forever, that these DNs are getting more athletic and longer and faster to the
yeah, right.
quarterback. Um, and so on the one hand, I've been thinking about this. I'm excited that we're having this conversation, and I'm glad that it isn't. We have to sit here and talk at length about how terrible the Colts are. Let's just move on. Talk about the fact that we have to draft a quarterback in the future. It has to happen this class, and you have to get it right. And I don't think the Colts move either. I think you have to let people overpay for their guy and know that I don't think everybody's drafting the same way. I don't think they evaluate players the same way. And I know that I ain't saying nothing insane, you know what I mean? But I know a quarterback's coming off the board first. I know the Colts at 5 are not having the people picking in front of them now pick, or even all pick quarterback, or they
Yeah,
don't get traded out for whatever. I don't care. If I'm the Colts, I don't move.
yeah,
Why? Because I'm not having to pay to pick fifth. I already did that. I'm 4-11-1 right now, about to be 4-12-1, and I literally hired Jeff Saturday on the hopes that he kept some people's head
yeah.
in it,
Blowing it up. Yeah,
that he didn't have guys quit on him. And again, the defense kind of gassed out is probably more appropriate. The defense got
yeah,
gassed. And that's the first time I can remember saying it all season long. So I'd like to think that that's a good indicator that you've got a good defensive system. When the
yeah,
only time I've said all year long when the Colts are truly gassed on defense and gave up, you can see it on the board, is this game. And it's like, hey man, they've done awesome all season. Um, I think that I hope people understand. I hope people listen to my podcast. If you come away from this with anything, you understand like we are saying like the expectation wasn't that Jeff Saturday was going to come in here and win. It was that he was going to hold the locker room together. And hopefully these guys aren't turning on themselves. Because I know, like again, we keep saying that all the time, but like if our idiot ass is sitting here going, how does Strausser have a job? Who does he have dirt on? You know the players are thinking that, right? Like, first of all, they read our shit, so they're thinking it because we're saying it. But more importantly, like they have that innate thought too. They're not dumb, right? They got to be going to meetings back when the offensive line was issued. Now it is. You have no continuity at quarterback, no consistency at all, right? See, now in 3 weeks you'll have trotted out three different guys, right? Or is it 4 weeks they'll trot out three different guys? But yeah, because yeah, Nick Foles started a game and a half. But yeah, it shows you we don't have what you need to win at quarterback at this level without insanely good offensive line play. And that is evidenced by Matt Ryan and Nick Foles' lack of athleticism, and then furthermore by um, Sam Ellinger's not inability, but he isn't as good of
Yeah,
creating an opportunity for himself or others out of the pocket. Um, it's more like he doesn't have time to figure it out. The Colts are already like staring down the barrel of having to take quarterback at the top five pick. Sam Ellinger is an afterthought. So I mean, yes, he's competing. You can call it that, but do you think Sam Ellinger competes with like we named off a list of quarterbacks? Do you think he's better an athlete than any of them ones I named? That I would be like, those would
nah,
be the guys I no, because just look
no,
at the 40 time. Okay, so he's not as good an athlete, and then let's throw on the run. You already have his little mixed bag here, and like I said, he's okay. He's not moving the needle, right? He don't have a big arm. I think that's what our big thing on Sam was, right? Like he is a good athlete. We like he doesn't have like a big arm, so he's gonna get outgunned by rookie. You can just chalk it up. That's gonna happen. Which one it is. Um, so yeah, I don't mind being in that spot. The trouble the Colts are in though. So let's talk about this and move on. Talk about the Pacers and get out of here. Um, oh no, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, the Colts have to play the Texans to
yeah,
end the season. And every word coming from the Texans is like, yo, we're playing to win.
yeah.
Like, and I've thought
I
about
actually,
it.
yeah, I think they're going to beat us. I honestly think they're going to beat
I
us.
want them to. Like, I'm not saying
Yeah,
like I want the Colts to win. It's like you realize what's good for you and what's not good for you. Someone's going to make a mistake. The mistake I think the Colts almost made was they almost won that Vikings game, right?
yeah,
Like
that
they
wouldn't.
got up
Yeah,
33 nothing. You should have never been there. I think people should lose jobs for that shit. Because what happened, you gave people hope. Don't do that shit. Right? Right? Like, no. We should have never been there. We had no business being in that football game. And we got up on somebody big and then had to let them win it. And then go back and watch the tape and tell me that they didn't look like they was letting them back in it. That's not what you
just
saw.
yeah,
Okay. We were watching the same game then. But yeah, now with the Colts finally deciding to start Sam Ellinger, I'll also say this. That designation is the first time since Jeff Saturday's been head coach that I feel like that's with winning in mind. Because Matt Ryan and Nick Foles ain't it. They've shown that recently. Now, again, I'm not saying Sam Ellinger is the guy, but I'm saying if I'm having to make the call for the last game of the year against a team that's a game, like a team that's coming to play, oh, I would rather start the athlete. Like obviously Nick's really banged up and Matt Ryan's out for the year, I think. So it's not like you have a choice. I don't even think he'll have a
yeah,
backup. Oh, that's even worse. Um, but yeah, so I certainly am glad that the the Clownies and Watts are gone from the Houston end, so that is not a surefire Sam Ellinger getting drilled. Um, but yeah, the Colts play the Texans to end their season. Let's move on and talk about our Pacers.
Yeah, great win yesterday. I
Yes, they
watched the
did.
entire game. I, I have to. I'm in love with this team. Like it's just so entertaining to watch. You're just so. I'm so enamored. Like everyone is playing their asses off for the team. You have Tyrese emerging into an all-star caliber player, and I have to. First of all, I don't remember the name of the reporter. Like for the Knicks, Wally
Zerbiak,
something. Yeah, just a nobody
Wozniak.
who called him a wannabe all-star. I hate the Knicks. Like I hate them with a passion. So when he said that and Tyrese went on a tear right now to make him eat his words, just so great to see Maturin emerging into like in my eyes, of course I might be biased here, but he's the sixth man of the year, no doubt.
Oh, for sure.
Buddy Hield knocking down threes like at a what is it, like a 42% clip. Miles Turner finally, it seems like what is he now? Like his seventh season in the NBA, sixth season. Seems like he's finally emerging into the type of player that I always envisioned him to be.
Hmm.
And then you also have, the complementary players like Andrew Nemhard. I don't know how to pronounce his last name so well, but Andrew
Yeah.
Nemhard, and you have your Jalen Smith and Aaron Nesmith, who is really playing well these past few games. Hopefully, they can go out and acquire a nice young player like the ones I saw mentioned in trade rumors were Obi Tippin from the Knicks
Hmm.
or
Oh, Obi
OG,
Toppin.
yeah, Obi Toppin, OG Anunoby from the Raptors, who
Hmm.
played in Indiana and was born and raised in Indiana. So that would be nice, and he would be a nice addition. It's just, and keep in mind, we have the Cavaliers first round pick and the Boston Celtics first round pick. And we have our first round pick, so it's like we're going to have some capital to make some moves and get some nice players in here, and the future looks bright. Not only the win against the Raptors, but also the win against the Clippers, against Paul George. Just
Right.
just a great time to be to be a Pacers fan right now.
Well, like I said, I always want to make sure I iterate to here as well. One of the things I learned about being a sports fan or even talking about, like the Colts, for example, is like not to derive emotion from an outcome you have no part in. So just like with Colts wins and losses, good and bad seasons, you don't notice like a change in me. I'm always gonna be the same, whether we're winning or losing. The reality is that I got into coaching after talking about and studying film and watching, the games two and three times, figure out why are we winning, why are we losing, right? That's why you get into coaching is because you've done all that homework and sat there and thought about like, oh, it was a coaching decision. And there's like 4 or 5 of them in a game that you really have any say in making that ultimately decide the outcome. And of course, like with the Colts here recently, none of that has mattered. None of that mattered. Is like all that's out the window. And the Colts are laughably bad, which is what I thought the Pacers were going to be. And the Pacers are actually really competitive and consistently, now I can say consistently because they're about halfway through the year, consistently competitive
Yeah,
this year. And I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire. Just because I thought with losing Sabonis and Buddy Hield, he could be a myth, right? Like he comes in and he's not nearly the 3-point shooter. No, he really is. He's really that dude. And then of
yeah,
course Tyrese Halliburton is every bit the all-star. So from my perspective, the Colts won like crazy on that trade. And then like you said, like they have the ability to maneuver, make plays, and that's a good spot to be in is like your team's competitive and you can make it better. Um, my question, of course, would be like, are you trying to touch that starting five? There might be some space where you could have a splash player off your bench, right? So I don't know. I don't know if I want to let this the key thing keep going, or if we're looking at turning over a guy like McConnell, you might be able to get some capital out of him in a pick, or maybe move up, or trade one of your veteran players, to continue this youth movement, because clearly the Pacers staff can coach, right? With
yeah,
Rick Carlisle, clearly. I mean, they have a first year player coming off the bench that could very well, like you said, like we're saying it as fans, we're really Ben Mathurin could very well be sixth man of the year. Like,
yeah.
is there someone else averaging a cold 20 off the bench? Like, is there someone else doing that? because I would stay up and watch that, right?
Nah,
Like,
yeah, his main competition right now is I believe it has to be Westbrook. Westbrook, who is averaging, I believe it was like 14, 8, and 7 off the bench. But when
you gonna
and
win
I
it on
think
name.
that, yeah, he gonna win it on name. That's exactly what I was thinking, especially if the Lakers end up sneaking into the playoffs. I mean, if they don't make the playoff, I don't think there's a way he's being named six man of the year. If they make the playoff, he's just winning it on name,
Yeah,
which would suck because I don't know. Yeah, in my opinion, of course, as we said, we might be biased because we are Pacers fans,
right.
but no one deserves it more than Mathurin. And I think that the fact that he's doing this stuff as a rookie instead of like Russell Westbrook, who is in what is it like his 12th, 13th season,
Hmm.
I think that what Mathurin is doing deserves more credit than what Westbrook is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I mean, if not, I mean, is there a player you'd pick over Matherin for like rookie of the year then? Because like, is there somebody that's a rookie that's averaging more than 20 points a game?
Yeah, the only other contender for rookie of the year has to be Paolo Banchero.
No,
Other
center
than
from
him,
Orlando.
yeah, other than him, like there is no one. I mean, he's putting up 20, 21, 7 a night. And the Magic, they surprised a lot of people this year, and he's the one that gets, the spotlight and the number one overall pick. And
Yeah.
he's shooting the ball well, he's playing well, he's starting. His numbers here 21, 7, 4 as a rookie, like
They're 13 and
unless an
24.
injury, yeah.
They're not very good.
Oh,
Or
yeah, my bad.
Orlando's 13 and 24. So that's why he ain't, I don't know. But I get it. It
Yeah.
makes us sound even less subjective when you're like, right, but Paulo Banchero's on a team that's like 12 games under five or 6 games under 500. I mean, technically, there are 9 games under 500. You got to win half of those to get back. But yeah, I know Ben Matherin's probably not winning six man of the year, rookie of the year, but you're getting that level of contribution from him. And that's what makes it exciting because obviously when you draft a guy like that where they say he's a really good athlete and a really good scorer and he's 6'6", 210, you're like, "Oh, I'm having Michael Jordan hoop dreams," right?
Yeah.
They're the same height, same build, um, and then obviously he's a really good athlete. He can score. Now, Ben Matherin's nowhere near Michael Jordan. Um, but
Yeah, he's still a rookie, yeah.
yeah, well, Michael Jordan's a lot more confident in his mid-range game as a rookie. Ben Matherin's a good three-point shooter, and he can finish at the rim, and he's okay on defense. But I think that the beautiful thing about the Pacers is the same thing I see in Ben Matherin is like his potential, like what he could become
Yeah.
in the next handful of years is awesome. And like I said, the team gels. Everybody's loving ball. They're getting better. Guys are putting in productive minutes. And that's one of the things that the Pacers have been missing is like an impactful bench. Like they'd had good impact players on their bench, but they didn't have a good rotation in the past. They're barely staying in games. Now it feels like they could be up and hold a lead. They could be down on someone and come back. And they've got the depth to do it, and they've got the sort of heft on their front line to get it done. Where night in and night out, there's 4 or 5 guys on the Pacers roster that could really go off on you like that. And I want to point it out, like Andrew Nemhard went to Gonzaga, so like he's a baller, right? And then oh, was the other one? Nesmith is a Vanderbilt. That's where he went to school. So definitely a smart kid and a basketball player is dangerous. Um, and yeah, the Pacers are dumb young, and
Yeah.
it's reminding me of the Colts from a few years ago when. And again, I want to always keep this on the forefront of conversations we have. One of the things that's unique about the situation that the Colts are in is that they've had completely turned over their roster in the last like 5 or 6 years. None of the people that play for the Colts like 6 years ago are still here. Those people aren't here anymore. I mean, Luke Rhodes, the guy that we named the podcast after today, he's been here 6 years. He's probably the longest. Think about it. Who's still here that came in with him or before him? I
16 years.
thought it was
Yeah,
Ty. I thought it was Ty
yeah,
was the.
Ty, but Ty is gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying. And
Ryan Kelly is the only one I can think about. He was from the 2016 class, I believe, or
yep,
2015.
yeah.
It's Ryan Kelly, then yeah, no one else really.
Ryan Kelly and Luke Rhodes are like
Ryan
the
Kelly, Luke
longest tenured
Rhodes.
tenured
Yeah,
Colts. And center and long snapper is like a couple positions where it'd be nice to have some continuity, right? The bare minimum we could ask.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, the Pacers are exciting to watch, and they're still in it. I think right now they're like the seventh seed. We don't even care about that until you get another 20 games in. You got to figure out if they've got the ability to sustain this for an
six.
entire
Yeah, they're the sixth seed right now.
the sixth seed right now. Yeah, even better.
Yeah, which
Uh,
is
when you win four in a row, and then the thing about it is they get a real test tomorrow. The Pacers play the 76ers.
yeah, it's gonna
Um,
be a good one.
It's gonna be a dogfight. This is like one of those games the Pacers need to win, especially as a young team. It's cool enough to get a play in the NBA, but it's even better to be like young and good. But it's better to be like young, good, and beating up on the guys that are
Yeah,
like
on
the
the guys that
big
are
play.
supposed to
They're
be like
supposed to
right
be
there
good this year.
contending. Yeah,
They're supposed to be the beasts from the East. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Obviously, like I said, I'm excited for the Colts to have a top five pick, draft their quarterback of the future, and have good high picks the rest of that draft too,
yeah,
right? Um, I get it. The season's been frustrating for people. I know a lot of my friends are like, man, I don't even know if I want to watch football anymore. And you're just like, don't. Like, what are you talking about? Um, but yeah, obviously, like I said, I won't make much start it how we end it. We're whatever God you choose. Look after Damar Hamlin and his family. But we also want to lift up. I'm gonna even pull up his name. Um, former Purdue and NFL player dies. His name, Uchi Nwaneri, died at the age of 38. I'm 39 years old. Former NFL and Purdue University player, Uchi Nwa. It's Nwaneri. Died at age 38. The Jags confirmed Monday. He died in Tippecanoe County, which is up in Lafayette. Um, so he was found dead over the weekend, and we want to make sure that we cover a violent sport,
yeah,
and these people all matter, and they have, and because we didn't care about them enough, like the Colts lost a quarterback, and I'd also argue if you really think about it, they lost the quarterback before that. Like Peyton Manning freaking had a neck injury and left the Colts because Jim Irsay said, I don't want to be the guy paying you when you're in a wheelchair, right? And then before that, you were evidenced by David Carr getting drafted number one overall by Houston, and
yeah, and
Houston
then leaving.
being unable to protect him and his career ending. So it's like the quarterbacks have been under attack forever, where teams have whiffed on that guy, you can't protect that guy. There's so many things in the way of like a quarterback, you know. But the good news is the Colts are gonna have a new head coach and a new quarterback. I can promise you those two things. And if not just a head coach and new quarterback, it's gonna be a whole bunch of new offensive coordinators. I can promise you that. Because Big Daddy Jim Irsay ain't putting up with this mess. And that's what this end of this season has been. This seven of our last eight, I think, is what I told you earlier, or something like that.
Yeah,
That the Colts have lost. So it's good to have the Pacers to talk about and root for because right, who wants to sit and talk about how bad things are? But yeah, I think it's a good way to end the episode, just like we
yeah,
started it. Like I said, think of Damar Hamlin if you're thinking, and like
yeah.
I said,
Sending good vibes to him. Yeah,
have a great week. We'll see you after the Texans games.
yeah,
Go
and we will
Colts.
have starting the mock draft season.
Yeah, starting draft season. Have a good week, everybody.